Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hello everyone, hope you're having a good weekend. We're going to be looking at the sector here, WEED, MJ, the ETF, MJN, ACB, and APH. We're going to start it off looking at WEED and going over the trade that did not work out in terms of the short-term trade on Friday with the open, and just want to talk about that a little bit, the psychology of it and things like that and how we react to it. So first off, the setup obviously didn't follow through in terms of breaking $30 resistance, breaking the daily lower high pattern, and seeing continuation. Now, the couple reasons for that, reason number one would be that the market opened weaker on Friday, down about 0.5% with the open. I personally don't believe that's the reason, because if you look at the S&P 500 compared to the MJ sector just the last few days, the correlation has broken, where we have big time bear days on Wednesday and Thursday in the market, and then a green day on Friday, and you look at WEED, and it's the opposite. We had 2 green days and then a red day. So the correlation has broken the last 3 days, and you might say, why is the correlation breaking? The number one reason that correlations break is volume. Volume comes into one instrument or the other, depending on what you're comparing, and that's what changes the equilibrium. So in this instance, the volume was coming into the sector bullish because of the listings of NASDAQ for MJN, in my opinion. So obviously that's going to help MJN individually, but it helps the sector as a whole, as investors and traders get into these other names, anticipating that they too are going to be adding to the NASDAQ eventually. So it's just a general bullish overtone on the whole space. So again, increasing bull volume on WEED Wednesday to Thursday. These factors broke the correlation to the overall market, and in my opinion, that correlation will pick back up again, and it will be worth watching, but it's obviously not that strong the past couple of days. So if that's not the reason, what's the reason? In my opinion, market makers seeing clear resistance. $30 is the clear resistance. Everybody's looking at it at this point, and at this point, it is let's try that again. At this point, it's a triple top. We have resistance at 30. We rejected from 29.88. You could even call it a quadruple top. 29.97, 29.91. So 4 rejections in the past 2 weeks within 12 cents of $30 psychological resistance. So in my opinion, perhaps it's a combination of the two. You know, the fact that the market was down and the fact that we had market makers able to open it wherever they want and opening it lower and keeping the price contained, still in a downtrend. This daily chart has not broken the lower high pattern at this point. So it is something that we need to be cautious of. So give me this trade setup. I'll take it 10 times out of 10 times every single time. Again, even though the fact that it did not just follow through right now. And that's because this is a very, very high odds percentage trade. As traders, we are always trying to put ourselves in position where the odds of the trade favoring us are in our favor. You know, 50-50, we're just gambling. Even if it's 60-40, if you have 60-40 odds and you play those odds for decades, you are going to come out way ahead. In this instance, I would say that this setup is 80 to 90% of the time. Just in terms of, you know, bull momentum in the sector, solid bull volume, close at the high of the day, and seeing continuation into the next day, I would say 8 out of 10 times or 9 out of 10 times we get that follow through. So again, I will take that every single time. I have no regrets on the trade that I made, and it just doesn't always work out. We have to accept that. And it's also important to note how you are reacting psychologically to this. If you're coming, you know, Friday morning and it ruined your day because you didn't get the follow through and didn't get a successful trade, that's a red flag. For me personally, I can completely accept this loss because I know that it is a trade that is going to work out more times than not. And to be perfectly honest, I've been trading now over 8 years, and Canadian MJ sector closing at the high of the day is the highest percentage and easiest trade that I have ever made. And the amount of money that I've made in terms of the successful times that it's followed through compared to the amount that I lose when it doesn't follow through like Friday, it's not comparable. So again, I will take this trade every single time that you give me that opportunity. And in terms of protecting ourselves when it doesn't follow through, I'll look at that in just a moment. But again, just back to the psychology. If you're sitting there angry and frustrated Friday morning, that's a red flag. For me personally, I said, darn, would have been nice to see that follow through, but I'm going to take a small loss here because I was, you know, pretty heavy into the end of the day trade and looking short term. But you have to also determine what time frame you're looking at things, because if you're looking longer term, there's no red flags at this point, and we'll look at that in just a moment on the hourly time frame. So for me personally, yes, it was a bummer, but again, the only difference that I would make in this trade is maybe in an instance where we are closing just under a key daily resistance, I would lighten up a little bit on my position. So let's say maybe next time if we get the exact same setup and there's a daily resistance we close just below, but it looks like we're going to break it, maybe I'll go in with 75% of the position that I did this last time, just knowing that there's a possibility, a little bit of an increased possibility that we don't see the follow through. So I would say if we don't have a key resistance around, the odds of seeing this play continue and see follow through is higher than if we do have a resistance level around. So that's something to take away from this. That's something to learn from this loss. And again, it's a small loss compared to the wins that we usually get on this scenario. So it's perfectly fine. It's a little bit of a learning experience and we will adjust and again, maybe just shift our position size for the next one. So where we stand, this is what I'm talking about in terms of time frame. The hourly time frame right now is still extremely bullish for WEED. We just have this clear resistance. We also had a little bit of a sell-off at the end of the day. Multiple hourly inside bars did break bearish, but again, if you look at the different time frames, this is the 4-hour chart. The 4-hour chart has been bullish for a significant amount of time. We could consolidate down to $28 and even $27 and still be looking to form a higher low on the 4-hour time frame. And you could also make the argument that we're forming a cup and handle pattern on the 4-hour time frame with our resistance on the left side. Here's our handle of consolidation, or excuse me, the cup of consolidation. The right side is unable to break the left side of resistance. We see healthy consolidation in a handle pattern and then a breakout. That's a pattern, a potential pattern to be keeping an eye on. But the bottom line is there are no red flags for the longer term traders at this point. So if you had maybe a smaller position or you went into the trade with a swing perspective, you know, that the open and the entire trading day Friday, not a huge deal. It did give us a daily inside bar to be watching. A break of 28.63 on Monday will tell us that further consolidation is coming, and we will still be looking for a higher low to form here. Because of the increased bull volume and the size of the bounce the last 2 days, we will be looking for a higher low on consolidation to form above our recent low, 25.61. So again, everybody has an individual game plan for their trade. For me personally, I'm more of a shorter term trader. So as soon as I saw that we were not going to gap up open above $30, that changes my game plan. That tells me, okay, things are not going as anticipated. I'm going to take half of my position off instantly right at the open because again, it's not doing what I anticipated it's going to do. So I need to protect my position and take that loss. I'll take that loss every single time to protect from a significant loss, knowing that when the bulls see that we are unable to break $30, they are going to take some profit. And when we see the bears recognize that resistance, they're going to jump in some bearish short positions. So $30 is the most important level for WEED heading into next week. If we see a bull break of this inside bar, the break of $30 is very likely. And if we see a bear break, we know to be patient and look for further consolidation. So that's where we stand. Personally, I sold most of my position on Friday for a loss. I do have a small position right now, holding it for the game plan of a swing trade. I will exit it if we see a bear break of this daily inside bar on Monday, and I will continue to hold it if we see a break of $30. If we break $30, we're going to be looking very quickly at a 5 to 10% move on this daily time frame, in my opinion, because the next resistance is 31.35 and then really up at 32.28. So that right there is about a 5 to 7% move before we encounter the next resistance levels. And also at this point, the more you reject from a resistance level or the more you bounce off of a support level, the more clear it is to everybody. So right now, no matter how much experience you have with technical analysis, if you're looking at a chart, everybody is well aware that $30 is a key level. So when it breaks, not only are we going to see bulls buy that break, but we're going to see shorts cover, and that's going to magnify the move to the upside. So obviously the overall market conditions are important to be keeping an eye on, and I'm not establishing any long-term Canadian MJ positions because right now the market overall is a little bit shaky, and if we see the weekly timeframes on the overall markets go bearish and start to lose the uptrend and form a downtrend, that will be notable for every single sector. Some sectors will be able to ignore it more than others, but it is something to be aware of. So I do these market videos every few days, probably 5 days a week. And those market videos, again, give my general perspective on the weekly longer-term timeframes. And that is definitely something that I am factoring into all of my decisions when trading specific sectors like the Canadian MJ sector. So where we stand right now, daily inside bar on watch for Monday. And if it breaks, we will anticipate a higher low to form compared to 25.61. And if we get a bull break, we will be looking for a move over $30 and some nice continuation on the daily chart. It will be breaking out of a range that we've been within for almost a month at this point. And that is something certainly that the bulls would love to see happen. So again, make note of your psychology of what's going on for this trade. If, like I said, if it ruined your day, if you were angry and frustrated and couldn't look beyond that because the trade didn't follow through, that's a red flag, and that's something that we need to conquer. Personally, I was very easy to get over this trade. And for all you poker players out there, just a comparison and an analogy, this setup on Thursday is pocket aces. And if you go all in pre-market with pocket aces, you're not guaranteed to win. I have lost with pocket aces dozens and dozens and dozens of times pre-market all in. So essentially, we lost to pocket kings with, them nailing their outs. And that doesn't mean we're not going to fold pocket aces next time. The exact same trade, we would go all in with pocket aces pre-market again, because it's such a high probability hand of you winning. And if you go all in 10 times with that position, you're going to win probably 9 out of 10 times. I forget the exact odds of that hand pre-market, but it's certainly up around 90% or so. So that's where we stand in just terms of an analogy. And, I used to play poker with a friend where if he lost with pocket aces pre-market, something would be thrown against the wall. For me personally, that's never a reaction I have. I can very easily get over the fact that it lost, knowing that it's not going to win every single time, and that's not going to affect the play the next time it comes around. I will play it the exact same way. And that's a pretty good analogy here with what we see on the daily chart for WEED. So let's get into it. Just in terms of ranking, we'll look at the ETF here as a whole, but the ranking for the strength of Canadian MJ with the big four now, it's MJN obviously strongest, WEED number 2, ACB, and then APH. That's how I would rank them on the daily chart for strength. MJN, let's actually go to MJ. So MJ, also a daily inside bar, and close a little bit strong up near the high of the day. So the closer you close to the top of the inside bar, the more likely you are to break it in that direction. If you close it near the low of the inside bar, you're likely to break it to the downside. So we have a really nice equilibrium pattern setting up here. And let's change the color of these lines so they're a bit easier for you all to see. We'll go black, but we're looking for our low. We've got our high of the bounce. This is our higher low. Then there's our lower high. Now we have a higher low. And it looks like this chart is going to set a lower high compared to 33.73 and stay within this equilibrium pattern. We could stay within this equilibrium pattern another 2 weeks. And when it does break, it's going to give us a very clear break, and it's going to give us some nice direction for, I would say, probably a week or two. We'll be looking in that direction for that momentum to see some follow through. So right now, the key support is 30.57. I'm looking at resistance of 32.55 and 32.58, almost a little double top the past 2 days. But the major key resistance for me is up here at 33.73, and the odds of us seeing, a 4% move on the sector ETF here is not likely without seeing a little consolidation and beforehand. So you can see this MACD has been wavering back and forth, bull cross, bear cross, not really getting much information there. Volume's also been dropping off, which is certainly anticipated. When you have a tightening pattern, volume often drops off in association with that pattern. And this break is going to give us some nice information, but it's not going to happen anytime soon, in my opinion. So checking in on MJN, obviously the leader here, this daily chart is extremely strong favoring the bulls. We broke all kinds of resistance levels. And just a comparison, if WEED were to break the same levels of resistance that MJN did, we broke the high of January 23rd. So here we are. Where were we on January 23rd for WEED? That would have been a break of resistance over $37. So at this point, we're over 20%. Just comparatively, where were we on the same day when that resistance broke on MJN? It was up at $37 on WEED. So we're looking at the all-time high. Inside bar here as well. And again, the volume is extreme due to the NASDAQ listing and the hype in the US having more accessibility to trade it. And again, I got a nice fresh reminder where I was trading TWMJF, the US ticker for WEED, on Friday, and my fills were terrible. And it just took so long for these fills to go through. And it was something that I was sitting there saying, man, here's another reason where I just absolutely love that Cron is now on the NASDAQ. My orders fill at better positions, less slippage, and way quicker. I'm talking like a difference between my Cron orders filling in less than 10 seconds and my TWMJF orders sometimes taking 1 to 2 minutes to fill. And in the world of short-term day trading, that makes all the difference in the world. And it is definitely something that we need to be aware of. So that's what I'm looking for in terms of this sector becoming more trader friendly. Need all these NASDAQ uplistings from these OTC US tickers. So MJN daily inside bar support is 1190, resistance is 1247. Break of 1190 on Monday tells us further consolidation is coming. Break of 1247 has us looking up at 1290, the recent top. After 1290, it's just 14 and then 1483 for that all-time high. So again, we are very close to that all-time high, and we'll see if the bulls can get some follow through. This is very healthy hourly consolidation right now. This is a bull flag pattern. If we break that low of 1190, the odds of it being a bull flag will greatly decrease. But if we break bullish over that inside bar high, which again is 1247, that will be very significant for the potential of that daily bull flag to see continuation. So MJN still has the most bullish momentum in the sector, and it is worth watching and worth trading. And we will see if we get that inside bar break on Monday, which is very likely. ACB, still a ways to go to break the lower high pattern on the daily time frame. And again, just want to highlight MJN is the only one that has done this. So the lower high that I'm watching right here is at 1109. This is where we had a bounce attempt, we rejected, and then continued to lower lows. So right now we've got an inside bar on Friday here as well. 1041 support, 1074 resistance. That's the range to be watching on Monday. If we get a bull break, we're going to be looking up at 1109 as a key resistance level to break the lower high pattern and see a bullish MACD cross follow through, which has certainly been difficult for the bulls to pull off over the last few weeks. So still waiting for a bull signal on the daily time frame to break the lower high pattern. And if we do see a bear break of the daily inside bar, just like WEED, we will be looking for a higher low to form compared to 953 support. And last, we'll wrap it up with APH, which is the weakest name. And look at this significant difference. We broke this support level back this week a couple times. That's the low of February 5th. So again, in comparison, where were we on February 5th for these other names? And I'm looking at February 5th for ACB all the way down here. We're nowhere near breaking that support. WEED, nowhere near breaking that support. MJN, of course, nowhere near breaking it. MJN, nowhere near breaking that low of support. So the fact that APH broke that low already, it's a much more significant bearish signal. And again, there are two ways to be looking at it. You could be looking at APH as a laggard, and perhaps the bull gains on this bounce are going to be more significant because it catches up. Personally, that's not my style. Whenever I'm looking at a sector, I play the strongest names bullish and I play the weakest names bearish. I don't really look for major names in the sector to be a laggard play. In certain scenarios, I will, but it's not a common scenario. It's more to do with the sector hype when we see something like the entire sector going crazy. That's when I look for laggards. But if we're just in a general trading environment, I play the strongest names bullish and the weakest names bearish. So I am not interested in playing APH bullish right now. I would much rather have my money in MJN or WEED in this instance. If I were looking for bearish entries, I would be looking at APH because of its weakness. So anything under 1541 is a lower high on the daily time frame. And you can see where we stand right now. That's over 10% from where we currently stand. You know, if WEED sees a 10% move, it's going to be breaking all kinds of resistance levels and very strong. And if APH sees a 10% move, it's still going to be just barely trying to break the daily lower high pattern. We do have an inside bar to be watching Monday as well. Support is 1353, resistance is 1402. And again, same scenario. We will be looking for a higher low compared to 1189 if it does break bearish. And if it breaks bullish, we have a ways to go before the next resistance in terms of trying to change this trend. So that's a lot of talking for this video. Hopefully it was some, hopefully you got something out of it. And we're watching for the inside bar break on Monday. Again, everything is still holding up just fine for MJN and WEED, more so than the other two names. And if we get that bull break on Monday, that will set the tone for the start of the week. A break over 30 on WEED is a good sign for anybody in the sector. It's a good sign for the sector overall. So we'll keep an eye on things. Just like if MJN hits a new all-time high sometime in the next couple of weeks, that's beneficial for the entire sector as well. So thanks again. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll continue to check in periodically.